What is up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing here a deck profile, an updated one that is for my zombie horde deck. This is basically just the pure zombie deck that I have, of course, the generic one I usually play. It does actually have the best benefits compared to every other zombie deck I do play, because of the other ones being so archetypal. It doesn't allow too much flexibility, which is definitely quite a detriment in some sort of way. But with that being said, it is actually October, and although I have spent quite a lot of the actual month itself recording a bunch of Reapercast videos, it's because there was just so much news being announced. There was so many cards that we just had to go over, so I wasn't able to really do a bunch of deck profiles. But with that being said, I'm sure you guys can already look forward to it for the rest of this time up until the end of October. Since it is the right month, I'm going to pretty much be doing a bunch of deck profiles for all my zombie decks, at least every one I actually own. So unfortunately I wouldn't be able to do a deck profile for Ghost Tricks or Skull Servant just because I don't own those decks. I don't even have any cards for those particular decks, so it's just not really something that's possible. But at least with this pure zombie deck that I have, and of course there's vampires and even Vendreads, I could actually do an update to them because it would be appropriate for October. However, if you guys enjoyed these kinds of videos, definitely consider dropping a like, share, comment and subscribe, and also hit that bell notification as well. It really helps. But with that out of the way, let's begin. So starting off, we're going to be playing here 2 copies of the Bala. It's a really crucial card for this deck. I wouldn't really go so excessive to the point where you would play 3 copies of it, just because you can't really summon it out in any other way other than either with Gozuki, with this card being in the graveyard, by its own effect, or if you were to use the Glow Up Blooms effect. And although that might seem like a lot of methods, for a high level monster like this, 2 copies is more than enough. But of course it offers you a negate on the board, which is definitely just a powerful move to actually go for. So with that being said, it is still acting as our main boss monster. Next up, I'm playing over here 2 copies of the Banshee, and I figure I'll also talk about the 2 copies of Glow Up Bloom as well, just because they work hand in hand together. The Banshee, when sent to the graveyard, you could banish her and obviously get your zombie world directly out on the field, and Glow Up Bloom, well, it just either adds your Baladrock, or if you have zombie world already on the field, Glow Up Bloom special summons out the Baladrock. Of course it could be for any zombie that is level 5 or higher, but Baladrock is usually the best option here. But yeah, with that being said, 2 copies of each of these is definitely more than enough. With the Banshee, you could potentially also drop her down to 1 copy if you wanted to, make space for the deck itself to play other cards, but I think this is going to suffice. Of course, this is a zombie deck, so no surprise, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Solitaire. We're also going to be playing 3 copies of Unizombie. Both are pretty much the same card. It's like you're playing 6 copies of the Unizombie. Starting off with any of these cards in your opening hand is going to be very powerful. Of course, you do actually have to have some sort of other cards as well, at least 1 more zombie in your hand, to be able to pull off certain big plays or something like so. But with that being said, it's still something that is worth playing 6 copies of in total. I don't think these cards need an introduction. We obviously are playing 3 copies of the Gozuki and the 2 copies of Gozuki. Gozuki is, however, starting to become a really good card. It is definitely underrated. I think a lot of people overlook the fact that Gozuki is like so much better, of course, but Gozuki still has its benefits. It has 2 different effects, and if you know when to actually use those effects, you could really gain an edge against your opponent. But with that being said, for a bit of supportive measures, we're going to be playing here 1 Fraulein, still an amazing card to play here, and it just takes away a lot of effort into you going into your synchro plays or link climbing, and instead just having a basic monster out on the board and Fraulein either in your hand or out on the field as well, acting as a means of protection. It's just really good. And of course, I'm playing here 2 copies of the Bala. Simply discard any zombie to special summon it. I think this might be the first time I'm adding it to this deck because of the fact that prior to a certain period of time, The Jack-o'-bolins, I still didn't actually own any, so it's great to finally add these into the deck. A nice 2200 defense, but of course it has other applications as well, being able to bring out more zombies during your opponent's turn, which is definitely nice of course. Say your Fraulein or your Baladrock was in your graveyard, and during your opponent's main phase, you simply use Jack-o'-bolin's effect to switch them out, which is very nice of course. Alright, so for hand traps, I'm going to be playing here 3 copies of Ash, as well as 3 copies of Bala. You can play Ghost Bell if you want, that way you could actually maximize on efficiency with the zombie monsters in your deck, but I don't actually feel comfortable playing that particular combo, I guess, and I would much rather play Effect Veiler in this case because we are already playing Ash, and I think with Ash being once per turn, Effect Veiler is a different case where it's not a hard once per turn. If you draw into multiple copies of the Effect Veiler, you can use them, or if you actually needed to. This does add more flexibility to the deck itself. The other thing is, because there's now 6 hand traps in this particular deck, it does actually change things up. You don't have to go into these extensive combos going for these big monsters just to set up negates on the board. Instead, you have these 2 acting as really great disruptors the minute you draw into them. It does seem a bit lazy, but it is effective. Now as for spells, I'm going to be playing here 3 copies of Zombie World. You guys already saw it coming. It's a really crucial card for the deck. I wouldn't change it for any kind of build whatsoever. As long as we're playing a pure build, we're playing 3 copies of the Zombie World. I'm also going to be playing here the 2 copies of Super Poly. Some people might want to adjust the ratios of this, some people might want to add in a 3rd copy. That might seem a bit extraneous, but in this particular case I think it's okay to play that too, because of the fact that you have to also discard cards as well to activate its effects, so playing 2 copies is not bad. However, if you did want to play a 3rd copy of the Super Poly, then feel free to take out one of your Necro World Banshees and drop that down to 1 to increase this up to 3, and that could still work out for you. For a bit more generic support, we're going to be playing here Monster Reborn, Caught by the Grave, we have 1-for-1 for the Glow of Bloom of course, and we have Foolish Burial, just getting rid of really amazing cards to set you up for your plays. Your whole graveyard is pretty much your resource. We also have here our Harpy's Feather Duster, getting rid of more of those pesky cards out there of course. And then we are also playing a Pot of Acquisitiveness, a personal tech I really do like. You bring back all your Mizukis, absolutely amazing, but there's also plenty of other cards in the Banish Zone that could easily return as well. We are still playing a 40 card deck, so the Upstart Goblin is still definitely really nice, making it a 39 card deck. Now finally, for trap cards, I wanted to add a bit more disruptions on top of the fact that we already have 6 hand traps and we could easily bring out Baladrock, but I'm also going to be playing here the 2 copies of the Shiranui style Swallow Slash. The interesting thing is with this deck, when you're actually starting off with the Unizombie, you typically just want to get your cards to the graveyard to set you up for some combos, but the options by doing that will occasionally cause the Unizombie to be a level 5 monster, making it really hard to be used as a synchro material. Sure, you could use it as a link material, but I think it's a bit wasteful. Instead, let's keep a few extra monsters on the board and let's put ourselves the Swallow Slash into the deck itself. You tribute off your Unizombies and you get to just destroy 2 cards on the board. It might seem a bit crazy to play this card because there's so many cards out there that are invulnerable, but that really only applies to boss monsters. If you're doing it for when they're bringing out just the basic weaker monsters as a means to either search their cards or just to start off, then to actually have this out on the board, or at least this here to prevent those plays, it works out really well. Now moving on to the extra deck itself, I'm going to be playing some obvious cards. Vampire Sucker, at least one of them. Avendred's Savior, also a fantastic card. The Anaconda, just to go into your obviously your Super Poly. We also have your Underclock Taker. Don't underestimate this card. It's a really basic effect, but it is very effective because you have a lot of big monsters out there. And I'm also going to be playing here the Nightmare Phoenix, just an absolutely amazing card to allow you to deal with all those pesky back row. we also have here an Ip Masquerena that we could potentially go into our Nightmare Unicorn with, just extra utility. And to top it off, we're going to be playing here the one copy of Linkuriboh, a really nice card for you to just go into your Glow of Bloom, link it away, and trigger off the Glow of Bloom effect. Next up, we're playing over here some Synchros, Shogun Saga, a really nice card. Better to go for a turn 2 play with this particular card, but it's up to you what you want to do. For a turn 1 play, I typically want to go for Void Ogre, a really amazing play of course, because you do actually find yourself emptying out your hand a lot. Yes, we're playing 6 hand traps, but keep in mind the minute you actually discard your hand traps, you're releasing your hand, making it empty, so Void Ogre becomes effective, and having a 3000 beat stick as well, it's just an extra bonus honestly. But for level 7s, going to be playing here the Red Eyes Necro Zombie and also the Dawn Dragstar for a bit of negate. Bringing out these two on the first turn is a really powerful combo and I absolutely love it. Now finally for the fusions, being the super poly targets, going to be playing here the Almaduke, playing here the Starving Venom, as well as the Muddy Mud Dragon. Now of course I wanted to play the Drago Necro, but unfortunately I still don't actually own that particular card, so until I actually get a copy, I'm just going to have to play these. But what would I actually take out? I'd probably take out the Almaduke and play in the Dragon Necro fusion instead, and that would be a lot better option. So that was pretty much it for today's deck profile. I do hope you guys actually enjoyed this. This was more so a little bit of an update for Halloween I guess, or rather for October given it's a zombie deck. There is still the remote duels actually occurring, so maybe you could actually win something with this. It's a very fun deck, but it also gives out quite a few disruptions out there, making it really annoying for your opponent to deal with. However, thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have a sensational day. I'll see you all next time.